Welcome back to Man Across New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I shall see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where we'll be relaxing as per usual. I don't really know what we're going to be talking about. There's not anything conversationally which I think I can really talk about, except for it's so dumb because I try not to talk about, you know, like all of these games I'm playing, I suppose, on this series or that match, you know, things like Genshin, etc, etc. But I drop in every minute or so, and I say every minute or so, it's normally like every 5 days or so, you know, when there's a content update, or not, every 2 weeks or so. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow at 7:50 p.m. on Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. So most fashionable of sisters able sisters visiting, which is coincidentally relevant, I suppose, to what I'm going to be talking about. Well, I don't know if I'm going to conversation be talking about. It's what I'll temporarily be talking about. Because tomorrow the new patch in Genshin Impact drops, which is gonna be Fontaine, which is basically, you know, based off France. It's based off, like, I assume like Renaissance era, like Europe, but mainly around France, or that sort of thing. I'm not sure entirely, but I'm very excited for it because this is the region I'm most excited for, because, you know, I like aesthetics, I suppose, is how it goes. I like fashion and that sort of thing, and there's very much, it seems like, the patch which is going to have more of a focus on it. But you never know. So I'm actually surprisingly excited for tomorrow. But we'll see how it goes. You know, I'll give feedback. Did I talk about Baldur's Gate yet? Let me think. Hold on. What did I talk about yesterday? I talked about a random screw. Okay, you know, I could talk about Baldur's Gate because I played Baldur's Gate on Sunday. That would be the main thing I'll talk about today. I'm not going to review it, you know, but the review can come, you know, after I've actually completed it with my friends, which will probably be in about 4 months. So, you know, don't expect it to be anytime soon. But essentially, yeah, I started playing Baldur's Gate, not yesterday, sorry, on Sunday with my friends. We played for about 3-4 hours, I think. I can't exactly remember, and that's including, like, that's basically from character creation onwards. Actually, it might have been a bit longer. Yeah, it's about 4 hours I think we played for, which is a lot. You know, there's not many. It's been a long time basically since I've binged a game, and the last game I think I binged probably was Divinity Original Sin 2. It's a very sort of binge-worthy game in that regard. Because most of the time I don't play games, you know, despite the fact I love playing games, I don't play them for like huge swaths of time. The exception is maybe if like my friends want to play League or something for a while, I'll do that. But eventually, you know, I'll just be like, okay, those are sort of like far, not that common. And also when you play League, I suppose it's not quite consistent because often there's downtime in between the games. It's been a while since I just played a game like for a long time from start to finish. I think probably is one of, I'm trying to think of any of my series which I played for a long time from start to finish. I think on Mori I recorded like 7 episodes in a row once, like the last 7 episodes, just because it was so insane. I had to keep recording, so I was like, what is going on? I need to find out what happens now. Towards the end of that game. But yeah, so we played about 4 hours or something. Honestly, it was great. You know, unsurprisingly, I talk about RPGs, like role-playing, these sort of thing, like role-playing games, I suppose, a lot, and they tend to be one of my favourite genres, probably second to puzzle genres, depending on the actual puzzle genre game itself. But, you know, it needs to be quite a clever puzzle game, I think, for it to really tickle my fancy, rather than just something, you know, like a Sudoku game. Or Sudoku, I guess it's probably, now I think about it, how you probably pronounce it. I never really thought about it. But yeah, I mean, I talked about, you can go back, see RPGs, that's when I actually talk about the genre more, but, you know, I had genuinely a lot of fun playing it. It felt like the first time I'm playing Divinity Original Sin 2 again, which is an experience which is hard to relive, but for joy, I think that's what it's called in Divinity Original Sin 2, we're going to call it DOS 2, I think, from now on, because it's just a mouthful. No, let's just call it Divinity 2. It really was such a fun time, just spending like so long, even in, it was basically the tutorial area of Fort Joy, like just talking to the NPCs, discovering things, you know, having battles with my friends and that sort of thing, and just all in all, just sort of messing around, being like, this feels like it's not completely open world, but there is a pretty large world for you to explore. and figure out things out for the first time, like figure out what's the best way to do something, what fun interactions can I have, who can I talk to, what can I get away with, things like that. Generally are just incredibly fun, and it sort of felt like reliving that experience. I mean, it's going to be difficult to properly capture the first time, I suppose, you play any game again for the first time, but it captures that sort of. It's been long enough. It's been probably about 5 years, I think, since I've touched Divinity, so playing Baldur's Gate was really great fun. So you might be like, all right, what's your character? What are you playing? I said actually this time that I was curious about playing a different type of character than what I usually play. Not too different, because I usually like playing charisma-based characters because the social encounters are my favourite thing. I'm very much a proponent of you should play something which supports what you like in a game. So if you like combat, if you like being a big beefy, run into a load of combat, run into a load of enemies and just like demolish them all, play a barbarian, something like that. Play a fighter, play someone who can get up in the midst of things. If you want to play someone who's sneaky, he stuffs about, stealing things and all sorts of things like that, and play a rogue, play something which makes sense to support what you get enjoyment out of. You don't always have to, mind you can always like push your boundaries, I suppose, but for me, I very much like with social encounters. I like talking to the NPCs, I like stuff like that. So that's why in Divinity I played like a high charisma character. I don't even the class line's a bit blurred, I suppose, in Divinity. I ended up doing some crazy multi-class. I can't even remember what my base character was, to be honest. I think it was a witch, but I'm not sure. But I ended up dipping into like all the schools of magic just to get all the buffs possible. But yeah, I ended up playing a paladin this time, which is very unusual, I think, for me. My favourite class is very much bard in D&D. But I just knew I want to play a charisma-based character, but I'm like, I shouldn't play like a spellcaster, because I feel like I always play a spellcaster. It's very much me thing to do, a supportive spellcaster. So this time I was like, let's play a paladin, play someone who's going to walk up and be in the fray of the action, use some divine smites here and there, I'm still kind of supportive because I suppose that's how I just like to play the fights, but instead of being supportive from the backline and letting my friends do everything, I'm here on the front line being like, get behind me, and then dealing out healings when need be. So I'm playing a Dragonborn, a Silver Dragonborn, I think? I can't remember. A Sylvan Dragonborn Paladin, Oath of Devotion. Because I was considering doing Oath of Ancients, and I was like, I don't really think it fits what I'm going for. I kind of want someone who feels like, not like excuse me, like originally I wanted her to be a royal guard, but something along those lines, being like, noble for a cause, very much a sort of like a law-abiding citizen, one who helps out, the poor and the less fortunate than her. And Oath of Devotion fits a lot better. I thought Oath of Devotion would be more one to do with love, but it's kind of more to do with just sort of like devotion to the cause, if anything. It kind of feels like it should be like Oath of Justice. No, not Oath of Justice. Oath of like kindness or something, but whatever. So I'm playing that, and it's good fun, I would say. Her name is Fenia, I think. Fenia? Yeah, Fenia. I was trying to think how to pronounce it, and she is a noble. I wasn't actually originally going to choose a noble background. I was going to choose a soldier background initially, but then someone else chose a soldier background, and I was like, that's fine. Because I wasn't super sure if I wanted her to be a soldier. In my mind, I was like, she's like, if I was going to make a backstory for her, you can tell this is why I like the social aspect of the game better. I was like, she's like a royal guard, or, was considering being a royal guard, but is now no longer part of a royal guard. She's just someone who's from a much more aristocratic family who decided to try and serve. Who decided to be like a defender of her town rather than getting into like the political side of things, because she was never particularly great at the politics side. She's very charismatic in a sense. She can be very intimidating, she can be very persuasive, but she doesn't have a high level like political strategy, I suppose, on her mind or that sort of thing. She's like average int, average wisdom, that sort of thing. She's strong and charismatic. That's what she is. So I was like, this would be a little bit fun. I've never played a strength-based character. I've always played either dex-based character or charisma-based character or caster. So, having a half caster, half martial is a very sort of new experience. But having an absolute blast, I'm trying to think, what was the highlight of a session that we played? I think it was one moment when my friend walked in to him. I suppose it's very early game spoiler as well, Baldur's Gate 3. Walked into like the ruins, and there was like a sarcophagus, and he was like, you know, yo, like let's go loot the sarcophagus. And then him and another friend walked in, and then there was just like perception roll failed. It's a thing with these perception rolls, is you always get a sort of like meta element of it, where when that happens you're like, oh, I failed my perception roll, that means there must be something here to perceive, when really you should play it as like, oh, I failed my perception roll, my character doesn't notice anything, I'm going to continue doing what I was going to do. So what he ended up doing was, I think, trying to open the sarcophagus as simultaneously, no, one of them tried to open the sarcophagus while the initial friend, I think, pushed a button, and then suddenly the entire room just exploded in like continuous fire, and oil started seeping out from the ground. That's what I remember. It's like, oh, the trap was triggered, and they both stood there being like, there's just oil coming out of the ground. That doesn't seem like anything. And then like a spark ignited, and they just exploded and immediately died. So it was just me and my friend outside being like, I don't really know what we're going to do about this, because we didn't have anyone to disable traps in our party. We didn't have like a rogue or anyone who had that sort of expertise. So very much like, what do we do now? And it was very funny, in my opinion. We eventually got them out again, but still, can you imagine if that's how it happened in an actual like D&D session? Those two characters would just be straight up deaded, you know, because you don't get, in actual D&D you don't get access to revives that early. We're like level 2 or something. So I mean that's always the greatest part about these RPGs, is those funny stories, I suppose, which end up evolving out the game you play. So anyway, we'll be playing a little bit more tomorrow. We'll be trying to have some smaller sessions throughout the week, otherwise it'll take forever to play this game, and then a big session on the weekend, i.e. Sunday, I suppose, to play the game. I didn't even check what Nookmar missions we got. Okay, customize, take a photo, sell fruit. Can do. So yeah, I should really look through like all my screenshots I have at some point, because I'm just going to have such a ridiculous amount. So yeah, I mean, it's nice to play something different, I suppose. An Oath of Devotion. I have said before, you know, like what sort of class would I be if I was like a D&D class and that sort of thing. I don't really know, but I feel like number one option for me would probably end up being something like Sorcerer. That seems like Sorcerer, you know, I'm trying to think how to put this. Like I am the type of person to study that sort of thing, like a wizard. But I feel like Charisma or Wisdom probably both suit me as better casting model. Well, I don't know, Intelligence is not bad either. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I'm not really sure what role I'd be. But I feel like Sorcerer makes sense, because Sorcerer's based a lot of sort of like intuition, and I can see myself, if I was being a magic user, I would go a lot more on intuition rather than necessarily this is a rote memorization or something. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that feels like it's true to me. But I also think a bard is a pretty good option as well. But one thing, like one subclass which jumps out as being very sort of me flavoured is Oath of Redemption Paladin, which I'm very sad is not an option in this game. It's my favourite of the Paladin subclasses. It's basically an oath of like forgiveness, being like, and mercy, being like, oh, you know, I'm not going to start a battle with you if I don't have to. That sort of thing. Is this enough to get the Nookmar mission? I don't know. And I'm like, that's a really cool sort of like idea, conception for, I was going to say Nookmar mission, that's not right, for a class. I'm a bit sad that some of the classes I would definitely have loved to play were not in the game. Like, Glamour Bard is my favourite class, which is ironic, because I've never actually played it far enough to actually really get into the sort of Glamour Bard aspect of it, which is a shame. But conceptually is sort of my favourite of the classes. But over Paladin, I think it's one which suits me pretty well. I don't know if Paladin necessarily suits me as a class, but still. I find it interesting as well because, you know, Paladins have to, if you don't know, they had to stick to an oath. And in Baldur's Gate, it seems like it's enforced. I don't know necessarily how you break the oath. Yeah, I'm not planning to become an oath breaker. If it happens, it happens. But you start off with like a book of like tenets and virtues which you must abide by as a paladin. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And as I understand it, if I break these virtues, if I go against the oath I sworn to, then it's something which will be like, oh, you become like an oath breaker, and you're, you know, completely different now, which is interesting. I don't know if narratively there will be many moments for that, but I think it's cool narratively for me to be like, hey, I gotta make sure I actually stick by these oaths. These are things I need to abide by. These are things which are going to be important to my character, and I do hope that at least is a story beat in the future which, you know, tests her resolve and this sort of thing, because then I think it'll be pretty cool. What am I going to do? What's Vinny going to do? Is she going to stick by it, or is she going to break the oath? I don't know. But I mean, the oath is basically just like be a merciful person, so, you know, I don't really know necessarily how I would break the oath yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing how things shake up, you know. We've got to customize things, because it's been ages since I think we customized it to things like shovels, and it might break if we're not careful. But yeah, I don't know. I also had a fantastic moment when we were fighting these two people who caught like one of the playable characters. I suppose that's mount spoilers or whatever, and we were just like fighting them. Like, my friends were consistently getting like down and that sort of thing, and then I just like walked up to one of the enemies who were fighting, and then I attacked them, and I got a natural 20. So critically hit them, and then in the game there's a thing where you can automatically divine smite someone if you crit, when divine smite is basically just like a load of extra damage on your auto attack. So I just like hit them for like 20 damage at like level 1 or something, and just one shot that enemy, and it was crazy. I was just like, that exhilaration was like, whoa. What a crazy amount of damage. Natural 20s. You know what? I rolled a crazy amount of natural 20s, because not only did I have a natural 20 on that, I rolled another natural 20, but I can't remember on what though. It's like, I rolled 3 times. I got a 20, a 15, and a 20 as like my first 3 rolls, which was insane, to be perfectly honest. I was like, wow, Vino must just be incredibly lucky or something. There was also this moment in a battle later, which I just also got one shot. Oh, you gotta find your bag. Want some help? I mean, I'll look for it, Phoebe, why not? Okay, so it's probably somewhere I haven't been, which is interesting. Yeah, so just completely one-shot an enemy, but then I got one shot in a later battle where I got, I think it was Ray of Sickness cast on me, and they high-rolled like the maximum possible damage roll, and I just got immediately down, and I was like, whoa. I was like, this enemy's pretty dangerous. So I just did like 20 damage in one hit. So very much I need to get tankier. I didn't do the most optimal build, I would say. Because I still kept my int and wisdom kind of up there. Because I'm like, I can't have it too low down, otherwise I think it gets a bit strange. But I've got 16 in strength and charisma. I don't know which I'm going to be maxing. I'm going to have to figure that out for myself, maybe strength. And then I think like 10 in dexterity, 10 intelligence, maybe less intelligence, I can't remember. And then like 16 in charisma and 14 in constitution. I don't know, I just need to get tankier. I don't know if Baldur's Gate 3 has feats or not, but resilient might be a pretty good one. I'm just sort of thinking aloud. It's a thing, it's like, oh, I want to get like 20s all across the board in my stats, but obviously that's not something which is going to happen in the slightest. But it would be pretty cool. Okay, Phoebe, I don't see... Oh, there your bag is. Found it. Ah, we didn't see it. It's because we didn't go to the roost. So we didn't walk along this path, the only path I've ever walked across. But yeah, I don't really know where else I was going to go with this. Conversationally. Natural 20? I don't know. I mean, there's some natural 20s which sort of stick in my mind. I'm trying to think of from my previous campaigns if I've ever had a natural 20 as well. Almost certainly I have, but it doesn't stick in my mind of what I've done. Like, I can't think of a moment where I got like a clutch natural 20 or anything like that. I just thought it was crazy. Like, my first roll was natural 20. Oh, I remember. It was very early on having to interact with an object to figure out how something works. I think. Got natural 20. It was crazy, but I had to persuade someone or something when I got like a 15, which scaled up to like a 20, and I got a natural 20 on like an attack. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, but great fun. Natural 20s, you know. I didn't really talk about natural 20s today, so maybe I'll just talk about, I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares greatly appreciated. Twitter, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye bye for now.